and welcome to Let's Talk Spoop. I'm your host, Don, and today we're doing something different once again because, as they taught me in nuke school, variety is the spice of life. So today we are going to do a series that is on Shudder entitled Blood Machines. I decided that this was acceptable because the series is all told less than an hour long. So it's like watching a movie, but with credits in between. Anyway, Blood Machines. As per usual, we are going to break it down into 6 categories: story, acting, music, atmosphere, look, and the creepiness factor. I'm going to give you a brief summary of all 3 episodes, hopefully without any spoilers. I think I'll be able to cover that. And then give you an overall score on the story based on the 3 episodes, and then the rest of the data. So, let's go ahead and start. Episode 1 is entitled Mima, M-I-M-A, and Mima is the name of a rogue AI spaceship that is being hunted down by 2, I don't know if they're space bounty hunters or if they're actual members of the space military, not entirely sure, but they're hunting down this defective AI. They managed to crash it onto another planet that has never been explored before. On this planet, there are some scavengers. These scavengers claim that the ship is, quote-unquote, a living being. They perform some sort of weird ritual, and the ship spits out a fully formed naked woman. That's pretty much the first episode. That's actually the entirety of the first episode, but that's also what's described in Shudder as the summary, so I don't feel like that's a spoiler. Episode 2 is called Corey. The younger dude of the 2 people on the spaceship, who's also apparently the captain, decides to abscond with one of the scavengers for sexual purposes. They then proceed to use the spaceship to chase the naked lady through hyperdrive to some sort of spaceship graveyard. Episode 3 is entitled Tracy. Tracy is the name of the bounty hunter ship's AI. The episode, the captain gets tricked. His ship decides to rebel, and then things start to get real trippy. There's some mind control, sorta, hard attacks, and they kill the same person many times. It's kind of entertaining. So overall, the story it's out there. It's pretty esoteric. But it's good. It definitely held me, made me pay attention. I actually want to go back and watch this movie again to see if it clicks a little bit better. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 for story. Acting, so it's not bad. Some of the lines are a little stilted, but it's really well cast. Like, really well cast. So I gave it a 3 out of 5. Like, the characters look proper for the part. They have the right kind of accents, what you would expect, that sort of stuff. But it's just, the lines are, I blame it on the writing more than the actual acting. So 3 out of 5 for acting. The music, oh my god. The music in this is phenomenal. I absolutely loved the music. It definitely kind of captures that sci-fi 80s, 70s sci-fi feel. So I gave the music a 5 out of 5, believe it or not. The atmosphere draws you in really well. If anybody here is a fan of Videodrome, this movie actually very strongly reminded me as far as like the atmosphere and the visuals of Videodrome. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain to you how the ships work, how they get through hyperdrive, how they communicate, none of that. But it all makes sense by just watching it and accepting it. So 4 out of 5 on atmosphere. The look, it's very 80s, which is weird because the movie was made in 2019. I can't remember the name of the writer, director, producer off the top of my head, but this is the only thing on IMDb that he's accredited for, so that's pretty impressive when you look at what he managed to do. But as I said, the look is very 80s. It feels Blade Runner-esque, unedited, before George Lucas decided that everything had to be updated. Star Wars, they even threw a kind of grainy filter over it. The hyperspeed travel is trippy as balls. It's just the way that they do it is amazing, and I still see it when I close my eyes. It's fantastic. So for look, 4 out of 5. So finally we get to the creep factor. This movie's not scary. It doesn't have really any jump scares, but it makes you feel gross and uncomfortable. Like, just the visuals and the way the characters talk and kind of what you see just makes you feel uncomfortable. If I were to try to summarize this movie, I would say it is a robotic uprising via hot naked chicks and sexual symbology, because there's a lot of low-key sexual symbolism in this show. There's a scene where a character, essentially a male character, essentially looks like he's orgasming by watching a female character play with a gun. So sexual symbology is definitely in this movie. Creepiness factor, 3 out of 5. So we tally up our scores. We come with a 3.8, which I think is the highest score I've given anything so far. I don't know, one of my fans, correct me if I'm wrong, if I have any fans, for Blood Machines on Shudder. Disclaimer, though, it's a horror movie, so I wouldn't expect a lot of people who are watching it to be too concerned about inappropriate imagery. However, there are a lot of naked women in the show. So if you're the type of person that gets offended by nudity, I would not recommend this show. If you're not the kind of person that gets offended by nudity and you don't mind it, especially if it's appropriate for what you're watching, 100% strongly recommend Blood Machines on Shudder.